We love hip hop.
There's another thing that these guys were talking about too. I'm gonna stay on Swamp Stories. Asian. Come on. I'll put ASEAN, that's why. Ta-da. Asian assassins. How they became Toronto's most feared crew. Are y'all onto this? Am I putting y'all onto something new, or is somebody in the comment gang? Let me know if you have been watching any of these Swamp Stories. Okay? Let them know that I'm reviewing some of their videos. I don't want them to be like, yo, what the hell? Copyright this guy. No. We transform the content.
Car designers can shape a piece of clay into a...
But I'm doing this more as a salute to these guys, and just because I like the content, I'm like, damn, I found me a new channel to watch. So they took it to the 6.
Swamp Stories. For this video, we head to Canada.
Now watch this.
Wait. I know no one cares about Canada.
Fam, you see, we're here. We were messing with you heavy over at the We Love Hip Hop Network. You gotta be easy on the Canada slander, bro. You don't want to be DJ Drama, okay? We mess with you. Next video, just be easy, fam. But he explains it. I'm just playing.
Not even Canada cares about Canada, but this video...
He said not even Canada cares about Canada.
Actually pretty good, so give me a chance. I kid you not, the video will blow your mind. But
okay.
Before we get into it, make sure to leave a like. Apartment costing $2,500 a month.
So he's just breaking down what it costs to live over here.
And most importantly, they disguise public housing. And just like America, public housing can often be neglected and centers for all kinds of illicit activity. For Toronto, no area holds more public housing than the one covered in this video. The story begins in Chinatown, but specifically a neighborhood called Alexandra Park. The area consists of 3 public housing complexes historically known for Chinese and Vietnamese residents. For most of its history, the projects were pretty peaceful, so police never had to focus in on Alexandra Park. But little did they know the projects were a stronghold for the Triads, a worldwide crime organization based in China. The Triads had...
Yo, listen, y'all better chill for the people who are out there in Toronto. I'm not trying to unhatch no shit, nothing like that. Like, we're just breaking out a video.
Structure, rules, and strict regulations. They kept everything secretive, and most importantly, they disguised as regular civilians. In order to be a part of the secret society, you had to go through a vetting process and to prove your ultimate loyalty. Made Triad members often lived an abundant lifestyle, but they had to go through a very, very long process. By a young man named Michael Nguyen, and he always had 3 friends by his side. These would be Terry Nguyen, Kuelith Chong, and Rowan Atkins.
You don't know who that is.
Together, the 4 began getting money the only way they knew how, running inside people's houses.
I told y'all I got a good video for y'all. I ain't gonna let y'all down and bring y'all some trash.
Teens made this their lifestyle throughout the early 2000s until it all came crashing down in 2005. September 20th, 2005. The group of 4 teenagers began getting paranoid that Toronto police may be catching on to their ways. So together they start searching for houses to hit outside of Toronto. At 5 p.m. they decide to make a 4-hour drive to the city of Windsor, Canada.
Man went on a mission.
9 p.m. and they begin circling around looking for wealthy areas. At 10 p.m. they find a large house in the St. Clair neighborhood, and this house has
the beat's fire.
No cars in the driveway. So together the 4 get out of the car and rush to the door. Boom, they kick it down and run inside looking for closets. As they scour through the house, they notice a couple under the sheets in the master bedroom. So they direct them onto the ground to make sure they don't die.
Okay, that's a little bit too much graphic stuff. We're gonna stop right there and fast forward. We ain't gonna all get monetized on the video there, Swamp Stories.
To 2.5 years in prison. Once this was revealed, the Windsor community was pissed, but the judge decided to stick by his morals.
So they got caught.
After the sentencing, the judge named Bruce Brown told them this: "Where you go from here is up to you, but you need to take this to heart."
So they got caught back then and they let them go immediately. They're little kids. They didn't know what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to destroy their lives. This is a very young, early case for Rolex Homie and them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, by 2008, the four men were back in Alexandra Park. And by all accounts, the young men took nothing the judge said to heart. In fact, when they got home, they were worse than ever before. In 2008, Michael Nguyen decided that he wanted to start a gang. He was already a leader amongst his peers, and he wanted to take this into his own hands. His goal was to be a feared leader in Toronto, the kind of guy that nobody would mess with. He named his crew the Asian Assassins, and he began recruiting from within Alexandra Park. From 2008 to 2011, the Assassins got larger and larger, with more and more young men.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I had no idea of this.
From the projects joining along.
And I've been here the whole time.
By this time, the Assassins were not the only ones in Alexandra Park. The Project Originals, also known as PO, had formed their section as well. The Assassins were pretty much
ta-da! How PO got its name, Project Originals. Listen, fam, I feel like maybe it's because I'm an export or import or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? And salute to Road to Success. That's that. I'm more west of there, or I represent more west of there. We're in Parkdale. You know what I'm saying? Parkdale's my residence. I'm the president. I'm a detriment. Right? Down the road. Okay, and I understand that this is right next to Chinatown. Obviously, there's going to be a heavy Asian influence when it comes to even the streets and stuff like that. But bruh, holy.
The Asian side in PO was pretty much everyone else. Usually having two sets operating within the same projects can be a problem, but that was not the case. For Alexandra Park, everyone from both sets grew up together and they were the best of friends. On top of this, the Project Originals were already knee-deep in a vicious rivalry. For years, they had already been going back and forth with a set called the Sick Thugs. These guys are located in Regent Park, another set of projects just 12 minutes away.
They're getting deep in this right now. Pause.
Coincidentally, Regent Park had the same dynamic as Alexandra. The Sick Thugs were the mostly non-Asian guys from the projects, and their Asian friends had their own set as well. This would be Chin Pack, a group of guys with a similar story and similar motives.
So, Asian Assassins, Chin Pack. Okay? Listen, we're getting deep right now. The Crip Mac story was fun. This one is getting sticky.
For a couple of years, Chin Pack and the Asian Assassins tried to stay out of the PO versus Sick Thugs beef. But with this dynamic, things were eventually gonna fall apart. In November of 2011, a Chin Pack member fought a PO member in jail. This was
our world's revolve around food.
Bunyard.
Crossover incident, and it definitely messed up the entire dynamic. Both Chin Pack and the Asian Assassins had vowed to stay out of the PO versus Sick Thugs beef. And this small incident sadly opened the floodgates. Just a few months later, in March of 2012, a Sick Thugs member fought an Assassins member in Toronto jail. So now what used to be Sick Thugs versus PO was quickly becoming the entire Regent Park versus the entire Alexandra Park.
That's how that started.
At this point, for the Assassins and Chin Pack, it was all jailhouse squabbles and online disses.
It gets mucky. Watch this.
Because of this and the fact that they had common triad connections, there was still hope to regain a truce.
Yeah, right.
But then Chin Pack decided to kick everything off in the worst way possible. November 11th, 2012. It's a late Saturday night and a group of Assassins members happen to be out partying near the University of Toronto. At 12:45 a.m.
This is where things go super left.
Kuelith Chong leaves the pub and walks across the street to a restaurant. As he's crossing the street, a car full of Chin Pack members rolls by. Once they notice him, they hop out and make a devastating decision. The incident shook everyone up, and the neighborhood had never seen anything like this. The beef was on. The Asian Assassins were now out for revenge on Chin Pack. December 31st, 2012.
Okay, and back and forth they went, okay? From 2012, it just went crazy, okay? Peep this.
It's your typical New Year's Eve celebration in Toronto. And if you know anything about Toronto, they party like crazy. Well, on this night, Chin Pack are out together at the government nightclub by the water. At 11 p.m., Chin Pack arrives to the club with nothing but partying on their minds. Little do they know the Asian assassins have the same plans for the night. At 1 a.m.,
y'all remember
they go
government?
into the club, but that's when a member
That was
notices
the
Chin
spot.
Pack in the corner. So instantly, he taps on his fellow members' shoulders and tells them to roll. They instantly leave the club and head to their car across the street. They realize that this is their chance to get revenge, so they wait in their car. 2:20 a.m. The club begins clearing out, and that's when the assassins get ready. 2013. It's another. Thankfully, Jerry was over the car. 2:20 a.m. The club begins clearing out, and that's when the assassins get ready. At 2:24, they notice a member named Jerry Fan leaving the club, so that's when they get out of the car and sprint across the street. Thankfully, Jerry was okay, but now Chin Pack knew that they needed to watch their backs. From this moment, they began moving low-key and staying about 20 minutes away from Old Toronto. That takes us to
Richmond Hill.
February 23rd, 2013. It's another freezing cold Saturday night in Toronto, and that means that Chin Pack are out somewhere partying.
One thing I wonder. Okay.
And standing right in front of him. And
Watch this.
Night they happen to be all the way out in northwest Toronto, 30 minutes away from home. Because they're so far
Woodbridge.
away, the members are partying freely with no rivals on their mind. Little do they know, someone had given the rivals their location for the night. At 1:15 a.m., Chin Pack's Tony Nguyen leaves the club all wrapped up in jackets. As he shivers his way to his car, he notices two men standing right in front of him. And before he can react, after doing this, the two men got in their separate cars and returned to Alexandra Park. The next morning, they returned the rental cars to the airport, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. This is because Toronto police had access to surveillance footage with the license plates. So later that same day, the police made a visit to the rental place.
Back then, their surveillance was heavy. Back then.
They
Imagine
asked them
now.
for documents about who rented two Dodge Caravans the day before. Somehow, the rental place told police that they had lost the records of who rented the cars.
Don't know what happened, man. Two guys rented the cars and for some reason can't find those records anywhere. Stacy, do you know what happened to those? Don't know. No records here.
A little suspicious, huh? Either way, the members were able to get away with this.
She lost the records.
After this incident, the Asian assassins.
This guy is the one that they want to take out. He's the leader, they said.
His name began ringing around the city of Toronto. Specifically, Michael Nguyen became a feared character as he
I remember
was the
seeing his
leader of
face
this wild
on the news
crew.
and stuff like
As
that.
you would imagine, with this kind of notoriety, he was at the top of the Chin Pack hit list. March 30th, 2013. It's a regular day in the life of Michael Nguyen as he heads to the Yorkdale Mall to spend some money.
Why?
He walks around, buys a few things, and then heads to his car at 7 p.m. Parked right next to his car is a gray Chevy Malibu full of Chin Pack members. Once he approaches his car, the men hop out and bam.
Bro.
The loss of Michael.
And listen, this keeps on going back and forth until basically these guys, like this one right here,
to the community. But then came the winter when everything heated up. December 6, 2013.
like they chilled out for a second. They're talking about
One
here.
of the members double parks out front. Michael Kwan is pumping gas on Lakeshore Boulevard. While he's at the pump, a blue Subaru full of Chin Pack members pulls beside him. And before he can turn around, thankfully, Michael was okay, but this definitely woke up the assassins. The beef was back on, and that takes us to Christmas Day 2013. It's early Christmas morning, and it's
So these guys chilled out for a second. Okay. Here's one question I have when I watch this. Why do these guys who have so much beef go out and party and shop and do all of these public things? Okay. Me as a podcaster who has minimal internet beef, don't like being around too tough outside, just being outside, just doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? I got a plan of action when I go do my thing. You know what I'm saying? We get what we need to get. And I try to keep it short. I don't be in the club. But these guys here that they're talking in this story here, and I'll give you guys a spoiler alert. Most of them are passed away, R.I.P. Okay? They were just like, yo, we're out here getting all these crazy amounts of dollars, you know, alleged bodies and stuff like that. There's a war going on, and yo, let's just go shopping. What? No, man. Send somebody to go buy something for me. If I don't like it, take it back.
Pack member named Dai Nguyen is in his driveway putting presents in his trunk. His plan is to surprise his family on this joyous day. Well, little does he know an Asian assassin's
Also, remember, we didn't have eBay like that back then.
member is parked across the street. So at 8:30 a.m., the member hops out of his car and runs up to the driveway. Dai Nguyen was hit 14 times, but thankfully he was rushed to the hospital where they saved his life.
These motherfuckers are resilient. There's about 3 of them in this story that got hit mad times, and they were like, oh, still alive. Bring him to the hospital. He's good.
And thanks to doorbell cameras, an Asian Assassins member named Jamie Dang was arrested 2 days later. For Dai Nguyen, this situation understandably no one.
So there's a wild one that comes up right here after this quick ad. So you know he got this monetized. Salute to him. Because they're talking about a lot of wild stuff in this. Let's go.
Came up with a better plan. He really wanted to target an Assassins member named Premier Wong, also known as Primo. Primo was just 18 years old, but already a certified legend in Toronto. It's rumored that since the age of 16, Primo had been making $50,000 a month in the streets. The money gave him elevated status, to the point where PO rappers Rolex Hami and Houdini would often shout him out.
That's not Houdini. I gotta correct you right there, my guy. 1 second.
Made him a major target for the rival side. Primo knew this was the case, so he moved to legend in Toronto. It's rumored that since the age of 16, Primo had been making $50,000 a month in the streets. The money gave him elevated status, to the point where PO rappers Rolex Hami and Houdini.
Houdini's in this video. So you got the right video. Wrong guy, my guy. All right. Holla at your boy. Anytime you want to do a Toronto story, holla at the boys at the We Love Hip Hop Network. All right. We'll get you right. Pause.
Would often shout him out. But as you would expect, this also made him a major target for the rival side. Primo knew this was the case, so he moved out of the projects to a suburb called Richmond Hill. Here is where he focused on stacking money and staying out of the way. Kevin Pham realized that finding him in Richmond Hill was an impossible task, so instead he contacted a man that he
This guy, watch this guy.
This would be a sleazy Richmond Hill native named Timothy Lee. Timothy Lee was a street-level distributor
Timothy
just like
Lee.
Primo. So after getting in touch with Timothy, Kevin convinced him to set Primo up. So Timothy would contact Primo and set up a time to make a deal. January 8th, 2014. It's a freezing cold night in Richmond Hill. Primo is sitting in his red Lexus LS waiting for Timothy to pull up.
All right, so you guys pretty much know what happens there. Setup thing. You know what I'm saying? Setup thing. Timothy Lee, he comes in later in the story when they decide they're going to come down on everybody. Now watch. Woo! Watch how they do this nigga in this. Okay, when they're like, all right, we had enough. Okay. Because at one point, they did talk to the Toronto police and they did a press conference and they were like, Asian assassins and them, that's low level gangs. They ain't nothing to worry about. Don't worry about those guys. All right. But over the years, they're like, hey, yo, whoa. We might have to pull back on that low level gang stuff because these guys are a little bit serious. So they decided, okay, done. We're done. Okay. At this point, I've fast forwarded a little bit, like maybe about 5 minutes. There's maybe about 5 to 8 more bodies in between that 5 minutes. Okay.
Incidents like this are very rare in Canada, so police began serious investigations. Once they discovered the family's connections to Chin Pak,
and this is for this right here, this story right here. They knocked this guy's Pop Dukes. Okay, no. All right. They went to go look for him. He wasn't at his crib. Boom. Pop Dukes opened the door, gave it to him. Mud thing.
When Tan heard about the news, he was crushed, and so was the entire community. Incidents
You
like
seen this,
are
Papa
very
J,
rare in Canada,
the boss man,
so
eh?
began serious
Sick one.
investigations. Once they discovered the family's connections to
Okay, so now these guys had
known as
enough.
Mr. Big. The idea is for undercover
Now watch this. Watch how the cops decided this is what they're going to do, and the strategic moves that they made to try to bring these guys down.
They knew what this was all about.
They
didn't yet have proof,
were crazy with it. I was impressive, I would say.
but they knew that the Asian assassins were behind this. Even though just a year prior they said that they weren't a problem, they now realize their mistake and they were
Yo.
gonna make up for it.
Oops.
Over the next few months, police would go extra hard in their investigations. Police began monitoring every Chin Pack and Asian Assassins member. They even tapped their phones to get insider information. After weeks of tracking, investigators could not find a single thing. So instead, they decided to pull out a very controversial tactic. In Canada, this is known as Mr. Big.
Mr.
The idea
Big.
is for undercover cops to befriend whoever they're investigating. From there, they engage in a business relationship where trust is built. From there, the hope is that the target will give up all kinds of insider information. Well, the only problem is that police knew that Chin Pack and the assassins were way too smart to fall for this. So instead, they had their eyes set on a particular target. This would be good old Timothy Lee from Richmond Hill. They
Timothy
knew he
Lee. You bring him back full circle. Okay, Timothy Lee was the one who set up the Primo guy over there in Richmond Hill because it was hard to find Primo. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Setup guy, he was the slimy one, right?
Chin Pack member, but they also knew that he had some very valuable information. Well, after tapping his calls, police
He was never a
discovered
member.
Conversations between him and his girlfriend discussing designer clothing. From there, they learned that his girlfriend worked at Michael Kors and loved fashion. So
Follow this.
what they did with this was pretty interesting. They decided to send a female undercover cop to Michael Kors during his girlfriend's shift. Long story short, the undercover cop walks in and begins talking to Timothy's girlfriend about clothes and whatever else. The undercover cop then pretends to be so impressed that she offers her a job. From there, the police gave her a fake job as an international concierge. They actually set her
They gave her a fake job as a concierge.
up in an office and had her meeting with fake clients. You may be thinking, why are they doing this? But just hold on. After weeks of leading this on, they finally invite her and Timothy to dinner. The male undercover cops befriend Timothy and actually take him to a Raptors game.
So they set up a fake office for his girl to work at with fake clients. Okay? Employed the girl. Not him. Employed her. Right? Yo, your girl got a new job, B. Yo, high five. And then took them to a Raptors game, got them nice and cozy. Then let's eat some dinner and talk.
After building this relationship, they reveal to Tony that they're a mafia. But first they explain to him
And then told him that they were the mafia. Holy. Listen, I don't want to give them no props, but Jesus Christ. That's brilliant.
that they need to gain his trust before they elaborate. This is a trick of reverse psychology that they hope pays off in the end. Well, after Timothy proved his trust, they officially inducted him into the mafia.
They made him a member. Holy. Good for you, Timothy.
They even paid Timothy a large monthly salary. He figured that his old life was in the past and now
Monthly salary. So not, oh, they made him a member for a few weeks and they're like, okay, we got all we need. No, monthly salary. So they kept him a member for months.
he was living good. But the whole time, these so-called friends and bosses were acting
Yo, they got Gunna and Rick Ross faces on the cops. Sick when you do that, Swamp Stories.
actually trying to get information. So a few weeks in, they began asking him questions about his previous life. It took a while, but he actually began opening up. They used the fact that they opened up to him about their mafia as leverage to get him to open up about his past. On top of
he can't even win. I'm sorry, fam. That's the most brilliant shit I ever heard. He can't even win. He thinks, yo, these niggas spent so much money on him, got his girlfriend a job, and then told him he's in the mob. Why not? Yo, fam, I got a few parties here. Yo, bro, I used to be part of these gangs, bro. Oh, man. How could he not trust them at this point? They gave him a rollie.
This, they even bought him a Rolex watch to speed things up. Eventually, Timothy Lee gave up everything. And I mean, everything.
Listen, I don't condone of what he did, but he doesn't think he's snitching. He's living good right now. Like, this is just baffling. Like, fam, they made the man a part of their gang. Why wouldn't he be like, yo, fam, yo, love you guys. Yo, my girlfriend's employed. Yeah, I got 2 bodies soft. What else? What are we doing tomorrow?
Timothy told the undercover cops everything about the Asian assassins in Chinpak.
You didn't have to tell them everything, though, my guy.
He and Kevin Pham were the ones responsible for the loss of Primo and his girlfriend.
You didn't have to tell them everything, though.
One of the biggest takedowns in Canadian history, May 29th, 2014. Operation Battery. In one day, 53 raids took place in Toronto,
Then that's when they came down. Timothy Lee, bro.
in 94 arrests. Timothy was taken into custody by the same men who just bought him a Rolex.
Sucker.
The large takedowns pretty much wiped out 80% of everyone involved, and it actually brought peace to the city of Toronto. This gave
Watch this bald head fool.
police and the entire community hope that the rivalry had finally come to an end. But the Assassins members who were left over...
So, okay, for the rest of this, they wiped out basically almost the whole gang between the two of them, plus the arrest. Like, as far as like with them just trying to murk each other, like they cut mad bodies in this thing. I was like, oh. Like one of y'all said in the comments, Juicy Hamburger says, this is a movie, fam. Yo, when I was watching it the first time, I was like, what the hell? Where was I? Like, I live here. When did this happen? Like, Jesus, Murphy. So, yeah, I felt like I was watching something that was like a made-up story that happened somewhere else. But nah, this happened in our own city. I was like, whoa. But basically, at the rest of this, they almost took out each other, basically. Right? All of the big heads, the more top members of the gang, they basically just murked each other out. And then the boy them came, and like you see in here, they took out mad members and put them in jail. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's like, well, I was busy on road or doing something. I might have been in the office these times. I was in the office these times, so maybe I wasn't keeping track of the news like that. But they pretty much try to wipe out the rest of the gang through arrest and stuff like that. And then there was a few members left over that these guys had to just finish the job with. And they wiped out a few more members, and pretty much it ends there. Where I'm like, holy smokes. Like, there's still a few left, and then we all know what happened with Rolex Hami and the things that happened with him and his story, right? Because Rolex Hami is right now currently detained for a whole bunch of separate stuff that's like PO and, you know, whatever he's dealing with. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say because he's still dealing with an ongoing case. I don't know exactly, but I know he had a whole bunch of different charges. But he was part of this whole thing early in the times, and that whole PO versus Regent Park thing, or PO versus sick thugs, expanded once the Chins got involved and said, yo, and it went into a whole other direction, right? salute to both of those guys, the guys from PO and, the guys from Region, the Sick Thugs niggas. And I've interviewed Turk back in the days and stuff like that. And, he's told us some crazy stories in the interview of the different amounts of charges that he's went through. And, how they played a lot of that stuff in the courtroom and stuff. However, a lot of this stuff had nothing to do with those guys. Those guys were just doing their own thing, and these guys were just out here in the six going nuts so frito. Like, this was like for real, like a movie. Like, I'm talking by the end of watching this, I was like, how is that like 15 people got murked in this city? And this wasn't as highly publicized as I thought it should have been. Like, I know the news was covering it, but there was a lot that they missed, I feel. So big salute to Swamp Stories. Once again, you know what I mean? I had to do a double feature of Swamp Stories stuff for y'all. Go tap into their channel. I'm subscribed. You know what I'm saying? They're not at a loss for subscribers. But send them some more subscribers for the people who haven't subscribed to them. You know what I mean? Like I said in the beginning of talking about these guys, I found them in our analytics, and a lot of people who watch the We Love Hip Hop Network apparently watch Swamp Stories as well. So I want to salute to them.
We love hip hop.